Hello and hi. Welcome to episode 3 of Core Confessionals with your host, and maybe not your most favorite, but pretty reasonable guy, and local metalcore cryptid, Ian. I am doing a solo episode tonight for a myriad of reasons, but I felt um, we came out the gate a little fast, and which was great. And I've had wonderful conversations already. But I felt, maybe pump the brakes a little bit and give a little context onto not only, why I'm doing this, but kind of give you sort of the back history of my own personal experience in this world of not only metalcore, but Christian metalcore. But before I dive into the, deep stuff, I will talk about just sort of like the basic structure of what I want to accomplish with this channel. Because I've noticed since starting to do this thing, and I've been having a lot of friends reach out to me. I'm reaching out to a lot of people, just throwing Hail Marys out there that want to come and share their story or just kind of give their thoughts and feelings. But those are my friends, and I think there's a level of trust there. And something that I've noticed from a lot of the people that I've reached out to, because I think it'd be cool to have them, give their perspective on this channel. I've noticed a lot of hesitancy, I'm not really sure what this is for, because here's just the reality. This is not inherently a pro-Christian or anti-Christian program. This is a just like I've described it a million times. One historical kind of retrospective, and kind of just really coming back and peeling back the layers of something that I'm growing to learn has been a phenomenon everywhere. I had somebody reach out to me recently from Saskatchewan, and they're telling me they were having similar local scenes, and specifically church related, and them kind of breaking off and doing heavy music and stuff like that. So this is not an abnormal thing. This is not a crazy topic where it's very niche in that way. We've all experienced it, especially the age group of elder millennials, kind of people who were thriving on MySpace. That generation. This is something that we all, no matter what part of the world you were on, it feels like this is a combined thing. But I think my intention / goal is to make this all an open conversation, and strictly just let stories and thoughts and feelings be as they are, not, making this a shit talk program and talking about these fucking Christians. Because I also think that there's a lot of positive that came from those experiences, whether you're in the church now or not. I think all of it's valid. I think deep diving every part of the spectrum is fascinating, and I think there's just a lot of hesitancy because I think people who are kind of currently in the industry or in a ministry, because it's not like clearly like this is a Christian podcast. I think they're like, I don't want to mess with the brand. But then I also think that there's a lot of people who stepped away from ministry work, the church, and being in the Christian industry altogether. And I think there's a lot of weird feelings. And because we have to talk about those old times. I think there's a lot of people who are like, "Hey, no, that's another life," or like, "I'm not really interested in doing that," which is more than fair on all accounts. Um, but almost selfishly, this kind of why I'm doing this, because I'm floating in between both of them. I, uh, the closer I get to 40, you know, nostalgia creeps in. You're on a doom scroll on fucking TikTok, and uh, just nostalgia is so huge now. And like, man, remember when you logged on in 2006 and Instant Messenger and your crush came on and they play all the sounds and like I understand nostalgia is big. And there's a lot of sentimental value of, this time, as a late teenager and early 20 something where, it felt like living a dozen lives in a span of 3 4 years. Um, so kind of where I'm kind of fully inspired to do this uh, is from that place of I'm getting older and these feelings are seeping back, and a lot of those things that I kind of shut the door on, it's kind of peeking under the door a little bit. And I'm in a healthier, or attempting to be in a healthier place. And so I try to kind of like welcome those thoughts and feelings in like an old friend now, and just sort of like, okay, what are we doing? What are we feeling on this? And there's a lot of, obviously, still the not so great parts of being in Christian metalcore and the Christian industry. But there was a lot of good and a lot of things that, in today's world, my current world, just don't exist anymore, or just aren't a thing in my life. And you kind of go, man, maybe I took that for granted, a little bit. Maybe I'm starting to turn the tide on this. Because really, I mean, I really don't want to tiptoe the just doing another nostalgia podcast, and that's why I want to make it as current or not current, transparent, full spectrum as possible. Because I think on top of my own personal journey and trying to kind of on live stream on the interweb, uh, break down and essentially give myself therapy, trying to figure these feelings out. But also, I'm noticing that there's a lot of hesitancy. Like I said, there's also like a lot of unspoken stuff, and that's just so fascinating. Almost, I'm just like, what is it about this particular time in history and this particular genre and the church relation part of it? Why is it such a controversy? Hey, we're just talking some shit, dude. But I'm seeing now that there's a lot in there, and even for myself. Um, and that's kind of what I want to explore doing this. I want to give people a voice, uh, to uh, maybe sort things for themselves out, or maybe they've come, oh wow, that's a nice loud truck. Thank you, sir. Hope everybody heard that. We're cutting that out in post. But it's, I don't know. ADHD is crazy tonight. And doing solo is gonna be interesting. So we're always getting the train back on its rails right now. Uh, I want an open dialogue, and give whatever it is to be, just kind of let it be natural, let it flow. and kind of, hinged the three question thing: the best experience, the worst experience, the best experience, and where you're at now at your age. How do you feel about it? Because it's pretty simple, but specifically that third question of how do you feel about it now? Um, because I am unfurling that right now as we currently speak, as I'm speaking to this microphone. Um, and so I'll kind of go back, kind of give a little history of my time, my genesis, not only as uh, a Christian musician formerly, or just how I got into this thing. Um, so uh, I am a musician, um, but I'm a musician that my one talent is that I'm stubborn as fuck. I'm not inherently gifted. I wasn't born shredding, right? And that was never my MO. I just loved music. Um, I really loved music through my dad, my mom, uh, playing Phil Collins and Seals and Cross in the car, or even like early '90s stuff like Collective Soul, Live, and then my oldest brother really put me on to like new metal, a lot of new metal, a lot of industrial, a lot of like heavy stuff. And um, he played guitar, and I wanted to be like him. So I'm like, but he did like the little brother syndrome. I'm like, oh, you're playing guitar. Well, I'm not gonna rip you off because I'm a Mr. Independent. So I got a bass, and bass was my first instrument, and love bass, still love bass. But then as I started dipping my toes in music and dipping my toes and starting to play in bands since I was 13, um, I just became obsessed and was like, oh yeah, this is literally everything I want to do. This is all I want to do actually. Like obviously, like I think my mom even mentions here and there, like, I remember when you were little and you were wanting to be a veterinarian, not veterinarian, but a zoologist, or like studying the great apes and stuff like that. And I'm surprised probably should have been the journey I should have went on. Going, maybe I could have saved Harambe, right? Maybe I could have really lived my Jane Goodall life. Also, side note, shout out my wonderful girlfriend and allowing me while she is out visiting friends. I get to sit in the throne, the fucking big chair, TM trademark, big chair. Um, ADHD, but so I'm obsessed with music. I'm wanting to do everything and anything. I learn every instrument I can. Am I good at it? No, but I'm stubborn. That is my talent. I'm going to get as good as I possibly can at every instrument I know in case somebody needed it. I was like a hired gun. Like, you need a guitar player, I'll play fucking guitar. You need a bass player, you need a drummer, you need somebody to slap a tambourine. Whatever you need, I will do it. Because that sort of like made sense to me. Because sort of like, not to get real open about my childhood, nothing crazy, but like being the youngest with two older brothers and parents who had very established industries, they had their thing. And my brother's super hyper intelligent, like they have sort of like a set, like this is who I am and what I do. And I kind of was like a chameleon for so many years. I tried so many different things. I tried playing football. I tried doing extracurriculars at school that I wouldn't typically do. Just trying to find a pocket, some kind of niche that's mine. And music was it. And so I played in so many high school bands. And in these high school bands, uh, you play all these local shows like we talked about in the first two episodes with JD and Marco. Um, and it's almost incestuous in nature of how many connections and people you meet um, playing local shows and uh, making friends and enemies alike, I guess. But you're meeting and you're connecting, and bands break up. Hey, you play guitar, right? Think we'll come in and bring my band? Like that happens all the time. And uh, like I've said before in previous episodes, and especially in high school, I was definitely very much in my um, neck beard. Well, actually, atheist phase, and because I didn't grow up religious, thankfully, I do appreciate that part where I was able to approach spirituality um, kind of as unbiased as possible, and just sort of walked into it with my own comfort. But that happens later. So playing in bands, I'm making friends. We're playing shows at the rec center. Everybody's skateboarding at the skate park at the rec and make friends, yada yada. And then eventually I found myself in a position where I'm a freshman in college. I just graduated in 2007, and I changed my major 4 times in a year and a half because I couldn't find my thing that fit the mold of what was expected of me at home. And you go to college, you get a degree, you get a good job, bada bing, bada boom, live the American dream. I just felt off. I just felt like I couldn't fit in. Like I'm not, like I said, I'm not inherently naturally born gifted and talented at anything really. Like just out the gate, I have to be stubborn. I have to like practice my ass off to get somewhere. So I already kind of have that chip on my shoulder. And every uh class or major I wanted to pivot to just wouldn't hit the mark. Something about it, even on the music stuff, I'm being a music tech major, being a music business major, seeing how that sausage was made, and it just didn't drive right with me. Not to sound like, hey man, I'm just a hippie, like musician, like, but kind of, yeah. I realized that all through high school and so many of those bands, especially the ones when we actually started getting kind of okay at our instruments, and playing better shows, um, you had those aspirations of like, I think I could do this, because what was happening at this time was all these bands that we had played with and all around us, you know, just started fucking blowing up and like really doing it. And this is before streaming was a major issue, um, to where it's at today. I mean, obviously the Napster stuff had already happened, but like it still felt like the Oregon Trail of like, no, there's something to this, especially this local band called Settle the Sky was starting to get some steam. And they had signed with Standby Records, and they were like, I remember just sitting there going like, oh my god, the kids are doing it. Like, holy shit. Those goofy youth group kids who quote Veggie Tales, um, and love farting. Like, it was just like this crazy thing, and it was felt so fast. And on one hand, you're super stoked. You're like, oh, that makes it really tangible for me. But then on the other hand, you're jealous, you're bitter. You're like, why not me? I've been doing this forever. And so I'm in college, and it's not hitting the mark, and I'm really hitting a point, like apex of like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do, and I can't. If I drop out of college, I will be disowned by. It will be not good. So I remember, I was at this point on my final major change. I went to social work, and one morning I was working third shift at Hardee's on the Turnpike. Really, blue collar. You know, these hands ain't soft; they're covered in grease burns. No, but I worked third shift on the Turnpike at Hardee's, and I would get off of work, run home, give a quick, what we call like the hooker shower, and, hit the essentials, change your clothes, and I'll go to my social work class at 7:30 in the morning. And one morning I went, and one of the things that they would do in this class is they would do like a current events topic, just like that's like adjacent to the world of what we're talking about. And they were talking about homelessness. And one of the ladies that was in the class piped in, and this is a student, and referred to homeless people as vermin. And the second I heard that, I was like, what are we doing, guys? Like, this is social work, and the class is predominantly made up of people who are just bitter at the system or high key pieces of shit, you know. And so I was like, oh, yet again, I'm at a crossroads, and I don't feel natural for this. And so I almost like a like a like a sleeping soul, like a winter soldier. Something got activated in me that day, where I grabbed my stuff, and I thanked the professor. God, I wish I could remember her name. She was very nice, and very understanding. But I got up and said, "Hey, I'm not gonna lie, I appreciate all of this. I can't do this anymore." And I walked to registration. I dropped all of my classes, and I went out to my '93 Buick Skylark. And I was like, dude, I'm fucked. I'm so screwed. Because if I'm not going to college, I am disappointing a particular parental figure, and they will not be hyped on that. And I don't know how to communicate this. So I'm in my car crying, looking at my little flip phone, the little Motorola flip phones. There was a time, guys, come on. And I get a text message from Dan, from Settle the Sky. And I've known Dan forever, since we were like 13, 14, like, because he played shows in his first band, As They Fall. Played shows with him all the time, early high school. So I've always known Dan, and Dan and I always like had this weird, I don't want to say weird, but like it was a connection musically what we were listening to, and anytime that we would jam. We had like a little side band that we tried starting because we're like, we really want to play in Seosin. I think we played one show where we played 2 original songs and we covered Bury Your Head. And it hadn't even been released on the Bug album yet. This is when they released that EP with Cove singing on some demos. Like, that was how much we love that band. Um, but Dan hits me up and he goes, "Hey, dude, what are you doing tonight?" And I'm like, "Fucking nothing." Doing jack shit because I've effectively ruined my life, dropping out of college for no reason. I had no reason to do that. I mean, yes, I had reasons, but like it was so unconscious. And it felt like um, I did not have my autonomy. Like I said, I was like a winter soldier, and I just fucking got up and just did it. And I'm sitting in it, and then Dan invites me to the show in Mansfield, at a place called CD Jungle in Mansfield, Ohio. And if few people watching right now know what I'm talking about, shout out to you first. But then secondly, it was one of those places where they had a makeshift stage at the back of like storage area of this record shop in Mansfield. And these local Christian metalcore bands, The Gun Show, um, Though She Wrote, Settle the Sky. There's a couple others I can't remember off the top of my head that played. And one of the cool things, despite me being like an edgelord atheist guy, I was still cool with all these guys. Like they liked me for me, like me for me. But it's true, and I loved them for that. And that's why we could always get along. Because I really didn't agree on the Jesus stuff, but I could at least go so far as to say I like the nice stuff about Jesus. I love love. I love kindness. I love empathy. Because I'm a big old sensitive boy, and I want everybody to have a good time. I don't want anybody to have a bad time. And so I'm like, I'm like, I'm not really this the woo 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 stuff, but you're still my friends, and I see this show, and it's one of those like, it probably the longer time passes, the more cinematic it feels. Where it was like one of those shows, man, where like it felt like everybody was in their pocket, everybody had a good set, like one of those gigs, and everybody's killing it, and the vibes were high. And at this point, I'm like, I don't even know if I have a home after this. And then Dan, after they played, we were hanging outside. I think I was smoking a Black and Mild. I can't remember. But if I was 19, probably. But we were outside for sure, and he's like, "Hey, so we're getting a lot of tour offers, and Elliot is focusing on school. He's still in the band, but he's focusing on school. Would you be interested in being our touring guitar player?" And it was, you know what I mean? Like, it was like one of those things where like, oh, just fell into my fucking lap. Because here's the reality. I had geared my life the second I got the taste of riff, the second I was addicted to music. Oh, my girlfriend just called me hot in the chat. Thanks. My wife loves me. Again, thank you for letting me use your chair. It is so comfy, and I am keeping it warm for when you get back. But what was the super emotional thing I was talking about before I got distracted? uh, but oh yeah, okay. So it was one of those magic moments that you hear uh in people's talk about their walk, brother. But it was one of those unspeakable, intangible, indescribable feelings of like I geared my life to music. I was what I because it was the one thing that I found that resonated. I feel like uh also side note, I will cry. I'm a crier. So buckle the fuck in. Um but it was like one of those things where I felt like part of a club. Cuz like, yeah, you're Mr. Cool Guy playing guitar on stage. Let me get a sip of this. But also you're with other like-minded dorks. You all love music. You're all there for a reason, especially shows back then. We this will be explained billions of times, I'm sure, with all the countless conversations that we will have. But these multi-genre shows of just every band, doesn't matter. Oh, you're in a band, you're local, let's fucking play. And I was like, this is me. Like, that's my shit. And trying to put on the good son cosplay. And being like, oh, I'm doing the school thing. I'm gonna be like my older brothers, and I'm gonna get a degree, and I'm gonna be totally normal. And I couldn't. I literally could not. Uh, and so I dropped everything, and I'm like, I'm fucked. And then just by some crazy set of circumstances, I'm handed this position. Hey, you want to tour and play music for a living? Yes, here it is. And at that point, I was kind of like, okay. I didn't have my come to Jesus moment necessarily there, but it was one of those things where it's like, all right, synchronicity kind of crazy on this one. Like I did this crazy thing, and serendipitously, I'm at this Christian metalcore show in Mansfield, Ohio. And I just got an offer to be a touring musician, which is again what I put all my eggs in that basket. I was like, this is what I'm doing with my life. This is who I am. And so from that point, it was nonstop. Because what had happened was, we did 2 tours, and on the second tour, second or third tour, it was a full country tour where we started in Ohio, and we just went west all the way out to Idaho, and then up through Idaho to Washington and Oregon, and then down through the entire state of California, and then down through the Southwest, through Texas and the South, and then down to Florida, and then up the coast to the East Coast, and then back over. We got about not even halfway. I remember this vividly because it was my birthday. And I think this was either my 20th or 21st birthday. I can't remember which one it was. But we were this was Yakima, Washington. We were playing this bar and grill. It was this bar, but the thing was like, we're a bar and grill. And so it low key felt like a metalcore show at a Chili's, which, especially nowadays, that would be like actually fucking sick. I probably wouldn't be able to play. I would just, face fuck some mozzarella sticks in my in my gullet and shit my pants. But that that's what we were playing, and I remember that show too because one, it's my birthday. Two, we're playing this bar and grill. Three, there was a gas station nearby that had this green apple slushy mix with this bubble yum slushy mix, and me and JD called it the was it what was it uh the magic or something like that. It was something like that. It was like the magic serum or something like that because it was so fucking delicious. Anyway, so I'm enjoying my birthday Slurpee in Yakima, Washington, and God, I can't remember who in the band. It might have been Dan. It might have been Mike. I think it might have been Mike. Um, we were sitting in the van, and he goes, "Hey guys, so Elliot reached out to me, and he's actually joining Before Their Eyes, which was another Rise Records local band that started blowing up at that time. And Elliot is going to focus on that because they have health insurance." And I remember that was specifically the reason why Elliot was like, "Oh no, yeah, no, the only thing really wasn't the school thing. My mom really just wanted to make sure I had a job that had insurance." And Before Their Eyes, Rise Records, shout out Craig for giving his band's health insurance, apparently. Because boy, how did Stand By not do that with the owner that followed Nick. Regardless, so Elliot quits the band, and then they put the phone down, and everybody just kind of looks at me, and they just go, "You just want to be in the band now?" And I was like, "Yeah, happy birthday to me." Like, "Oh, I'm in the fucking band now, sweet." And from that moment forward, it was just years, days and months that felt like years, that eventually turned to years, I should say, of just traveling, living in a van with these guys and going through the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs. You really see a lot, obviously, and it really shifted my perspective. That's when I really was like actually pretty into ministry work, because I started seeing it actually like help people, which ministry work at home, I did not see that. I saw the Christians at school who would bully our physical science teacher for being agnostic. And it's like, that's not cool. Not my vibe. Sorry. So, seeing ministry work actually be positive and actually do something, and it being involved with these songs, and there's so many of these, fans or people coming to these shows, and having these intense conversations, and I'm praying with people now, and I'm low key. I'm not saying I'm seeing miracles, but I'm seeing people's lives at least moved significantly, even if just emotionally, which felt huge, because uh, this whole appeal that I had with joining this band was uh not only were we doing ministry work, but a big appeal of it was it was natural. It was just, hey, we're just good break kids playing, and it created so many of these crazy conversations, and it really got me invested in it, to the degree where I admittedly probably went a lot harder on the being Jesus-y than even my bandmates at some points. Because I think what had happened with that was I came from the outside. I was a stray. I lived in the boxes. I ate out of the trash spiritually. No, I had a nice home growing up. But like on a spiritual level and like a worldly level, I've been out there. I've seen the shit. I've seen the gross. I've seen the not so great. And they never did because they were all sheltered for the most part, um, for, for good or bad. Um, Regardless, it had a drastic effect on a lot of them. And uh, so they were being exposed to the world and understandably being like, oh, no, that's actually pretty cool. Cigarettes are actually sick. Smoking weed could be cool. Like, and then in hindsight, I'm like, damn, dude, I really kind of lament, like, I really wish I was a little bit more of a cool dad uh when I was band dad, because that's when I turned from like excited up and comer joining the band to like being almost like the team responsibility of like it was like wanting to be like, let's do Bible studies and because I think I was always excited, and also I almost felt like um there was an expectation, and when I was doing that work and uh seeing so much of the other shit happening and the fun stuff, I should say, on the road, you kind of like grapple with that. Um, but even that, what I realized is to be a full time touring band, and especially in this crazy niche market of Christian metalcore, um, I don't know. It was like it's hard to explain. Um, because a lot of it is just is strictly feeling. And so playing in this niche thing and all these crazy experiences are happening, and I'm also simultaneously now seeing hypocrisy and that feeling that would conjure where you're like, you know, this is a machine. Like you're literally running a machine, and then you realize that people are getting less and less motivated to be a part of the machine. And so what happens, and I think this is honestly a true case for so many bands, Christian or not, um, excuse me, in this time, and so you started having band members quit, and then you're bringing new members in, but we have tour schedules, we got to go, 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 go. So you're bringing in dynamics and people that you might not know very well. And trust me, Settlers Guy had so many of those moments. um, Listen, everybody played their part, and I appreciate it. Uh, that sounded really shitty. Genuinely, I do appreciate everybody that did chip in their time, for the good or bad. They still were there and they helped us. Um, Shit, I started as a villain. All right, who's bald? Oh hell yeah! What's up, y'all? Um, so we're having all these different energies now, and it's all of a sudden losing consistency. And but strangely enough, MySpace is still thriving at this point, and we're almost be getting to a point where, despite these lineup changes, and we somewhat kind of like had one last final lineup that kind of stuck around for a little bit. We started writing new songs, started releasing singles, and it felt like, oh shit, it's about to pop. And I think the magic of just being some dorky youth group kids or goofy local kids playing music together, having fun. That dynamic was gone, and now it's like, oh fuck, our lives are in this now. Like I've said a couple times already in this episode. Um, I put all my eggs in this basket. I like my dad was actually really cool with me touring. He, to the degree he co-signed for our new 15 passenger van. Like this man's credit score is at stake with this band. And so we were feeling that pressure, and I think there was a lot of not so great decisions and conversations of how to monetize things more. And I think that was sort of the beginning of the end. Like I remember we played up until that point two of some of the biggest shows we had played in a long while. Co-headlining with For Today and Crimson Armada. We played a show in Mansfield and we played a show in Fort Wayne. It was like a little weekend run. And I remember on our way home from Fort Wayne, I was in the very back row, and everybody quit the band around me out of nowhere. Apparently, I do that a lot now. It's the brain rot, ladies and gentlemen. It's the brain rot. But apparently, they had been having discussions without me, and they decided that the band was going to be no more. And it turns out that they were wanting to start a different band and make it more secular. And I think old Kaji, preachy Ian at that point was less than appealing of being a part of this new project. And so the band broke up around me, and then I was stuck with a van and a dream that I invested everything towards, and then it was gone, just like that. So that was a real sobering moment. But I still was keeping the faith, and my guitar player in Holy Coast, one of them, Eric, he was a worship leader already at a local church in Gibsonburg. We were already playing in bands together, even when I was in Settle the Sky. But I joined his worship team, and I started leading worship there, especially after he left for a little bit. And kept busy with that. But then real life sets in. Hey, man, bills is bills. You got to get a job now. So I got hired at this kind of shitty local factory, making, $9 an hour or whatever. And I felt like that was it. Of like, oh shit, no, I tried and I failed. But then some of the former members of Settle the Sky, we started hanging out again, like within a year or two, and they're like, guys, we got to get back on it. And whatever new band that we make, supposedly there's some label interest. And so we what's funny is this happened in a parking lot in Sandusky, Ohio, and at a venue called the Underground. I'm not sure anybody remembers the Underground, but if you are a local Northwest Ohio in the Underground in Sandusky, had a lot of interesting shows. We were watching one of our friends at the time do a DJ set, just spinning the tables, and myself, JD, and Dan were there, and we went to the parking lot, and we were just like, boys, let's fire it back up. The dream ain't dead. And I was like, huzzah, chat, we are back. And so we started this band called Convictions, which they are still a band today. None of the members from that Genesis are obviously still in the band, but they still have Zach, who was the longest tenured member from the very start. But so we started Convictions, and it's like, all right, we're doing this. But at this time, many such cases. I was with somebody who turned out I should not have been with, for a lot of reasons. But the one gift I did get from this person was my daughter. Whoops, had a baby. And I was 23 years old. And so that was a lot. And I found out that I was going to be a dad the day of the tour, the day that we were leaving, the day it was all happening. Oh yeah, also by the way, you're going to be a dad. Which that's a whole other. I'll have to write a book sometime. that's a big chunk of chapters right there. Dealing with that and that particular person. So needless to say, shit kind of fell apart after that first tour. Because the tour in that of itself was a good tour. It was fun. It was with the Great Commission. Oh my god, what's that? Oh my god, I can't even think of their name now. But it was a pretty rad tour. Apologies for those, I can't remember the names of the bands right now. But the label that we had sort of an offer, and there was a label that had gotten us that tour, went under, or I think it wasn't necessarily, which turned to be, unfortunately, kind of a norm in the music industry, specifically labels, is they clear house. There's a lot of that happening, and they cleared house, and everybody that wanted us to be on that label was no longer there. And so we got back from this tour. I'm having a baby. Everyone, shit's being kind of weird. The person I was with also did not make things helpful in a lot of ways. And then now, oh yeah, by the way, we don't have a label. And we're using my van to tour. And how it was in Settle the Sky was the band paid for the van because we were using the van, which is how it always was. But now that we weren't touring, and now we don't have a label, everybody's going like, oh yeah, well, no, van's your problem, man. And then it's like, well, it's either I quit my job and tour to sustain the van, or I quit the band to be able to pay for this fucking van that you don't want to use anymore. And we had a little bit of a falling out. Wasn't great. Have since obviously made up. I'm in a band with Dan now. And JD, but he was in the band at the time. But yeah, fell out. And from the point of becoming a dad at 23, was when I retired from touring and being in an active, band that did a lot of shit. Which, when you talk to enough therapists in the past 13 years, you really pull back some layers on this, of like, because I had given everything to be a musician. I had uh, structured my life to be a touring musician, and now I'm not that. All the essential years I could have gotten a degree and could have done all these things, now have come to pass because, oh yes, by the way, I am a single dad now, and it's just me and my daughter, and that was it. And so, I'm a 23-year-old kid with a kid, and so that really limited a lot of what I could do for work. Thankfully, I was at a company for 13 years, despite a lot of the bad that came with that job. Um, but I felt like, man, I'm really done, aren't I? You know, I, since I stopped touring outside of, there's been a couple times we did like a weekend warrior run with one of my other bands. But I put out multiple albums, multiple EPs, so many songs, so many local gigs, and it felt like, this is a selfish endeavor where I'm doing this just because I just want to make music, which is why you should do it. But it was trying to come to the grips of like, I will never be back to the dream I had, and what I had structured everything to be was now no longer there. So I had to just kind of navigate this life, and a lot of ups and downs. COVID happened. That was a thing. And the closer I get towards 40 now, I'm sort of realizing a couple things here. One, my kid's getting older now. She's not a baby anymore. She's a whole teenager. So that has loosened up some of time to invest in being creative again. But now it's a different world, and it will never be the same, and that's hard to grapple with. But I had a pretty limited amount of things that I could offer the world. Because I'm a dad, who I got to pay bills, so I got a full-time job. Not able to pursue music or doing anything creative as my job, and that again, closing in on 40 sucks. It's a kind of upsetting feeling of like, damn it, I zigged and should have zagged. Now I'm here, and you're like, damn it, what do I do? But thankfully, while trying to reconfigure this new hellscape of digital world and the interweb, how does one creative survive now? Because it is not the world that I was a band guy in 20 years ago. This is a whole new, like I said, landscape here. I made some pretty awesome friends this process. I know a couple people hanging out in the chat, right? Like Raphael, knows of, comedians, Robbie Goodwin, Dalton Pruitt, who have very graciously let me on their podcasts over the past couple of years, just to promote my music and just talk shit with them. And through these conversations and meeting some awesome other people. And I was talking with Miguel from Dork Court, and he had at least been at least somewhat privy to, I think, my history as a former Christian band dude. And he was like, "Why are you not tapping into this?" I'm like, "Oh, this is something people would be interested in." He's like, "Yeah," because okay, we have this phenomenon of this entire scene that's happening everywhere in America and across the globe for this in this specific era, and you lived it. And now, kind of going back to the beginning of this episode, where I've sort of found out that um, there's a lot of hesitancy and a lot of kind of going on with, talking about this time, being open about it at least, and I'm like, you know what? We might have something here, buddy. And so I have thrown together this little podcast, and it only took me an hour and 1 minute to kind of explain myself. Because life's weird, man. Life is terrifying. We live in very unprecedented, scary times, and so many things are happening. Money's not real. Everything's expensive now, and another reason I am doing this podcast, admittedly, I'll keep it a buck. Speaking of bucks, is I, as a single dad, am tired of being a struggling single dad, financially in this world. And so I kind of did like a self inventory. And I go back kind of to the beginning of this episode where I was like, I'm a musician by trade, but not a naturally gifted one. But my one talent is being stubborn. And so I'm like, okay, I don't have a lot of experience in a lot of other facets. To make a business or do any kind of venture, I'm a creative. I make things, I make songs. But I'm also a little bit of a gabber. Sometimes, yeah. Oh no, what fell? Something fell. Off camera right now. My furry stepson, my lovely girlfriend's dog Frank, just got scared shitless. I'm so sorry, Frankie. It's okay. Keep looking out the window. To be a dog, dude. To be a dog. No. But yeah, the wanting to turn this into a new adventure of where I can maybe make this a, not maybe not like a passive income or something like that, but just I want to be hip with the times, but then also I'm like, I have this thing. I have these stories. I have these people that I know that are fascinating people. I love having, how I had JD, my brother, essentially, brother from another mother, and bandmate, and then Marco, who had such an incredibly fascinating story, with his ebbs and flows and his backstory and his time in a Christian metalcore band and his experiences at shows and stuff like that. It really, I was like, I got to do something. Miguel's knocking on the door and he's saying, "Hey, buddy, you got something here. I got some cool friends. I got things. Let's put it together. I got a webcam. I got a microphone. Shout out Dan. This is Dan's mic. It's a Behringer. I'm sorry. It's a Sennheiser. Yeah, and that's why I'm doing this. I need your money. No. But that's the reality of I want to be creative. I still want to create. And if I can use podcasting as a outlet to um, get back out there creatively, I want to do that. And I want to give a platform to my friends who want to do that. You know, I want to be able to fucking build something here. And I really think we can. So everybody who's hanging out with me tonight, I appreciate it. Hanging in the chat here. Oh, let's look at the chat here. Raphael, what's up, Raphael? And then JD, guest number one, JD Merrill, Jonathan David said, in these unprecedented times, brought to you by Pepsi. Brought to you by sugar-free Sprite, actually. But yes, we are living in idiocracy. And fucking might as well. You know, I I remember talking to my girlfriend about starting this podcast, and every time I would say it, I'm like, yes, I know another white man does not. I say this derogatory. You know, we do not need another fucking podcast. Absolutely do not need it. The world has plenty. It's oversaturated. But what I don't think is out there is this story. Is this story that so many people have. Some are willing to talk about it, some aren't. But, you know, that's why this is a confessional, you know. Hey, I'm not going to force you to give up the gas, but I want to give a platform for my friends too. Because I think there's a lot of us now, which, okay, ADHD, finally coming full circle on a couple things here. I'm noticing a lot of my friends kind of going through the same thing I am. I'm being unfulfilled, you know, and like struggling, not struggling like financially, but maybe just struggling creatively and needing an outlet and a voice, you know. And so I really want to turn this podcast into that. So that being said, again, appreciate everybody for who's, you know, been sending me messages and commenting. We got Jeremiah here. What did Jeremiah say? Give me one of your weird childhood musical influences. I'm sure you have a good one. I was just telling this story at work. I got in trouble one time walking to school or walking into the school because I was back in my day when I was walking to school, we had what was called a Walkman, and you put your cassette player in there. And around this time, this is maybe 1995, maybe. At work, my dad and his work buddies would get these mixtapes or make each other mixtapes. They were just like, "Oh, I heard this band. I'm gonna rip a couple of these songs I really like, and then also these songs are here." And they would trade them at work, or they would just trade bands shit that they would find. And Dad had Electric Larryland by the Butthole Surfers. And I love that band. I love the Butthole Surfers. I loved punk in the 90s for sure. Because there was definitely, obviously, nu metal was huge in our household because of my brother, and I loved so many of those bands. But like punk, I felt like it was like mine, which was funny. Like, I think having punk be connected to hardcore, and then the nu metal being connected to death metal or just heavy metal, it eventually became this fixation on metalcore, which is, you know, what I think attributes to so much of the bands that we talk about and are in. And hopefully I'll have some people on here. But yeah, I got in trouble at school because a teacher asked what I was listening to, and I said the word butthole. No butthole service. So JD, hold on. I forgot. I have technology here. I can show comments. I'm playing around with some ambient stuff right now. Might record it and release it exclusively on cassette. No butthole surfers, but that's exactly hitting the point that I was talking about. Is I love that my bandmates and my girlfriend are here watching me. um, but I mean that's kind of the point I was hitting at of like my brothers, my friends, my co-musicians, my bandmates. You know, we're getting older now, and we're trying to write stuff and get back into it because now our kids are getting maybe a little older, or life's looking pretty fucking weird. So you're like, you know what, I'm gonna pick up a guitar and write a riff now. You know, and so there's now this desire again uh to be fulfilled creatively, and I'm now trying to open my mind to other mediums such as podcasting and streaming, um, because this is actually really fun. Just sitting on my girlfriend's throne, the big chair, the big chair. Love the big chair, and I'm sure her neighbors hate my shitty Trump impression that I've just do to myself and Frank the dog. um, but hell yeah, what I was planning on doing this for an hour and a half, so I got 20 more minutes. So, how you guys doing? I'm so used to having another guest here. Um, but we're not having that handicap. No, we're not making excuses. We're here for the content. Yeah. So, what shit have I spilled? I kind of gave my history here, purpose for the podcast. Oh, I think I'll talk about some of the goals I have. Goal number one is I do want to be able to monetize. Pandatron, what's up, Panda? I want to monetize this. Not, obviously I got a kid to feed, but also I want to give guests. I want to be able to like pay guests. I also want to be able to get better equipment, and I want to be able to like uh maybe get some bigger name, you know, interviews going on, but also I want to create a Patreon. I want to create cool shit and create my own little shop here of just talking shop about metalcore. I'm on the monetized grind too. We can do it. Yes, we freaking can. Shut up, Panda. We're gonna do this shit. But even if it wasn't monetized, this is also therapy, guys. This is this is this is an almost 40-year-old man grappling with I used to be a cool guy. And I feel like I can still be kind of a cool guy. Please let me in your cool guy podcasting, and also listen to my band's music, please. Anytime I'm gonna do this, might be the only solo podcast I do, because I'm realizing that doing a solo episode, I'm just giggling at myself. I hope it's entertaining. But I want to grow the channel. What? Oh, I'm sorry, Panda. Like R. Kelly said. Oh my god! I don't think I can show that. Oh wow. What's your? Oh now. Oh, so we're doing a Q&A right now. JD has a question. Shout out JD. What is your go-to Christcore album? Any newer Christian metalcore you were hyped on? I have a little bit of problem with this, and this isn't a strictly Christian issue. I am an old head, and I am frequently called an old head or stop yelling at the clouds, old man type vibes, type shit. At my last job, uh, the younger generation started calling me Unk. I was affectionately known as Vanilla Unk. And so, because of these Unk allegations, um, I, I have a hard time finding new bands because here's some shit. We're opening it up right now. Shout out JD. Open this shit open a little bit. Because what really grinds my gears. Man, this doesn't sound like I'm talking shit. I'm really not talking shit. It's just a personal preference. This is personal preference, everybody. So to answer the first initial question, my favorite Christcore album, I'm going to say it changes, but I would have to say Son, I Loved You at Your Darkest by As Cities Burn is probably my number one. Back in the year 2004. And the reason why I love that record so much is it's not only incredibly interesting musically, like so many cool little noodlies, weird patterns on drums, and he had this like duality of Cody Bonet fucking singing pretty, and then his brother TJ yelling at me, yelling at y'all. And also by proxy, or also on top of this, the lyrics were just very heartfelt and felt very personal. And yes, were they Christian laden? Absolutely, but they were honest. It was a depiction of Christianity in music where I was like, oh, so it's not all fluff. Shit is actually hard. It really reminded me of like, not to get biblical here, a lot of the Psalms, where David is like, life sucks, everything hurts, and I don't think God's real. And that was the Psalm, and it's in the fucking Bible, and you're like, oh damn, dude. My bad. That was Top G saying that to David. He's like, hey man, my bad. Sorry, sorry you felt that way. Just picturing God is just like a passive aggressive partner. Oh, I'm sorry you felt that way. But that I buy. There's so many bands like that. You know, I love like Sleeping Giant, that record, Dread Champions, or Sons of Thunder. But where I was the whole spiel about being an old head and Vanilla Unk. Finding newer bands is tough for me because I'm like, I don't know. I'm almost kind of like, I'm good. I'm all right. You know, I have my bands I like, and I'm like, oh, I'm full. I'm sorry. I don't need any. I don't need. I'm sorry. I don't need any more jaunt breakdowns. No, thank you. How many strings on that guitar? 7, 8. Oh no, thank you. I'm full. I'm full on my 6. Panda. I've been Unkcore since 11th grade. Honestly, yeah. And I'm sure I'm gonna have him on the show at some point. Oh shit. But my buddy Eric, we have this thing called team responsibility when we were in bands, and so even when we were like teenagers, we were definitely unkified. Jeremiah asked, favorite venue to play got to be the Pontifex or CD Jungle for me. CD Jungle felt special for some reason, and I don't know if you were here earlier, Jeremiah. I talked about that show that I saw at CD Jungle that where Dan asked if I wanted to be a touring guitar player for you guys. And shows, yeah, it was one of those nights. Again, there was just like that special vibe. You just walk into this room. Every band's killing it. They're playing. They're putting their whole fucking bussies into it, right? And they're Christian bussies. They're crussies. They put their whole crussies into it, and it those were always the best shows, best venue or favorite venue to play. Man, that's tough. I think my favorite venue I've ever played, it is no longer around, is in the lovely state of Georgia, a place called Douglasville. And it was the 7 venue, ran by Josh from the Chariot's father-in-law. Playing there, the shows were, I mean, it was a rad show for sure. In a really cool venue. The Chariot fucking practiced there on the one smaller stage, and that was super cool to see. Their equipment in there and like so close to being a Norma Jean kind of, but not really. But the vibes there were just so immaculate, and it was one of those like Christian venues where it didn't feel inherently Christian. It just felt like everybody was super nice. Like Josh's father-in-law, literally, apparently, this was like a normal thing where he would stand outside while the bands played, and he would just have this like industrial sized grill and make grilled cheese, like specialty grilled cheeses, and give them to people for free. He just hung out and just, hey, you want to go cheese? Here you go, man. Which, by proxy of this, I have found out that I am very easily motivated to do many things if there was a promise of grilled cheese involved. Oh, man. But I loved playing there. I love playing Howard's and Bowling Green as far as a venue, because they have a killer sound system, and that stage is so cool now. And what they've done with that bar is super rad. What's a bummer is they don't. Okay, that might be seen as some shit talking, but if it's not a certain promotional group, those shows do really well. However, if it is not a part of this promotional group, shows do not get advertised, and attendance is pretty poor. But I've seen some real miraculous. I've played that venue packed out, and then that might be my favorite local one for sure. Wow, we're almost at an hour and a half here. People are still hanging out. I appreciate it. I'm slowly learning the navigating of when you have a guest. That is the times when I'm able to kind of slip by and get a sip of my drink or rip a vape. But when you do solo dolo, boy howdy, do you not get that grace. So I'm gonna have some hella fun editing this. But again, thanks everybody for hanging out. I'm probably gonna wrap up here in a second. I'm gonna give a couple shout outs real quick. I got some people booked coming up. Next week, my buddy John Copeland from the band Paddock Park. I'm gonna have him on the show. It's gonna be this coming Thursday. I'll announce the official times and stuff early this coming week. But I think he's gonna offer some pretty interesting perspective. Maybe not necessarily, because I don't think Paddock Park were a Christian metalcore band. However, he toured with us for a month and a half, or almost 2 months. He toured with the Stinky Youth Group band. So I really want to hear his perspective on that. Also, I got my buddy Nick Reed Yeah, Nick Reed. He was tour manager for Crimson Armada. And I think I am Abomination too. But then he was the original bass player for a little known rock band called Beartooth. I think he also TM'd for Attack Attack too. But he also has done a lot of ministry work, and I'm super excited talking with him coming up. And I have such a long list of other friends and potential candidates coming up. So we're doing this again every week on the kind of earlier part of the week. I'll announce what day, what time, when we're fucking hanging out. Gonna talk some shit. Nick can't read, but what Nick can do is I'm gonna give him so much shit. he's either gonna love this or hate this, but little Nick, the little Nick, Nicholas Reed, he can read. He's actually a very smart guy. Very silly boy, but also he did a joke rap song with our other friend Nick Ingram. Shout out Nick Ingram and Reed. Called "I Got Stuff to Do." And I would give so much to have that MP3 somewhere. I would give so much. Because that song was so fucking funny. And it was pure comedic genius in only the way that Nick Reed could do it. But yes, we have a lot of cool interviews coming up. We're going to hear a lot of cool stories. Really appreciate anyone hanging out. We are growing pretty rapidly. I will say, we are closing in on 100 subscribers, and that makes me very excited. I really want to push for 500 plus, because obviously that's when I can monetize the content. God, this feels gross saying that. But in these times, in this economy, being able to make this a little bit more refined and do some cool shit, unfortunately does require funding. So I want to be able to monetize, grow the channel to that, but then keep growing it after that for sure. In the meantime, I have a Cash App. I have it in the bio. Cash App $, it would be $ Holy Coast, because that is, hey, funny thing, I have a band. We put out an album in September called Such Strange Ghosts, and I really love the record, and I think there's some pretty cool songs on there, and it's everywhere you can stream music. I know everybody jumping off the Spotify ship, justifiably so. There are plenty of other platforms for you to listen to. But yes, if you want to help me out financially, doing this sort of endeavor, right now, Cash App is the way, $ Holy Coast, or Venmo is at Holy Coast. To kind of do one kind of little last expose of my big plan here, is I want to make this a full multifaceted thing. I do, technically speaking, have an LLC right now of a production company that I will be announcing after the new year, because I think I have enough material now to announce some things. But more, God, I do sound like I'm always gonna be permanently cringy local band guy. Big things coming soon. Get ready. Ooh, I'm just giving myself fucking douche chills with that. But that's the truth. I do got some really cool shit. We're gonna have some fun conversations. More music is being made in more ways than one. And I'm really excited to kind of adventure down through the world of podcasting, and yeah, keep your eyes on the screen, and please subscribe. And I will be updating also through YouTube, just announcements of who's coming on, what time, what day, and yeah. I'm also noticing I'm doing the Midwest goodbye thing where I'm like, I don't know how to say goodbye by myself. So I'm going to slowly move my mouse up towards the end stream. Uh, Again, share my genuine appreciation for anyone that hung out in here, listened to me talk for an hour and a half. That's crazy. I very much appreciate my girlfriend and my family and my daughter for having to listen to me so much. But also thank all of you. We'll be back next Thursday with John Copeland from Paddock Park. That being said, I appreciate y'all. And until next time, later. That's right.